Looks like game's over. All right, so LaTulip, let's flip it a little bit to your take on the Illini now. We've talked about Alabama. We've talked about the emergence here at Bristol a little bit. Obviously, Follin's been unbelievable, one of the best guards in the country. He's clearly established himself with that. I also want to say one thing about Alabama before we move on to Illinois. Sears was a hell of a player. What Sears wasn't was a hell of a leader. And that is where I think this Alabama team might have an advantage over last year or even the year before, when they were super successful, won a ton of games. You know, he was a guy that, again, could have been a better leader, could have been a better distributor. He was a scorer. We'll see if Follin can turn into a better leader. All right, getting to Illinois. LaTulip, your take on this team so far, especially tonight. Again, they got a couple pieces back tonight that haven't played, or certainly with Tommy's case, didn't play much. Where are you with the Illini?
I'm still really high on them. I think the floor is super high with this team, only really because that game tonight, and I think 3 days ago, was the first time all of these guys have practiced together, like ever. Yep. Petrovic got here in August and then had some injuries. Stojakovic was out for 2 months. Ivisic got his tonsils out, then had a knee injury. This is the first game that this whole cast has been together. Tommy only plays 14 minutes. But, you know, I think the question mark around this team, I think we knew they were talented offensively, and they got a little stagnant tonight until Stojakovic was able to get things going in that matchup hunting. But the question was always going to be defensively for this team. And I thought, you know, what they needed to do tonight was limit dribble penetration for Alabama. And everybody talks about Alabama's threes, but they get it a lot from paint touches, from dribble penetration. I just thought last 10 minutes of the game or so, they struggled with that. And I just wonder if there's going to be certain teams that, you know, have a Braden Smith, that have a Donovan Dent, that have some of these guys that are Jets that can create those mismatches off of ball screens, get downhill, attack bigs. That's just an area they need to improve. And I think if they improve that, they're right up there. They're a Final Four contender, despite the result tonight. I mean, Alabama's a team that's battle tested. They've, they have probably as good of or as strong of a 4-game stretch as anybody has in college basketball. Even beyond that, they play UNLV after they play Gonzaga next. So I think they're going to learn a lot from this film, because there's certain things like you're going to have to find out your matchup combinations or your personnel combinations soon. I think there's experimenting going on to see what you have and who works together. That's what the non-conference is for. And the sooner they figure that out, the better.
It's a good point. I do think that this is when you don't have your guys together for an extended period of time, the more tinkering, the more experimenting by Underwood is kind of expected. I also don't think Mirkovic played poorly, just didn't play well. I mean, missing bunny layups, missing shots he normally makes, just loose, like dropping balls out of bounds. Like he looked uncharacteristic for the talent that he is, especially in the offensive end of the floor. So I'm still big on Illinois. Nothing changes. This is more to me about, wow, Alabama, what a bounce back, what an effort, what energy they play with defensively. Great job on the boards. It's more crediting them than poo-pooing what Illinois can be. And I do think Illinois will grow. And LaTulip, you did mention whether it's Donovan Dent or Braden Smith. Yeah, those dudes are going to mess up a lot of teams. Like, they're going to jack up a lot of teams, so that they have to, like, that's part of the challenge of playing some of the best players in the country and playing a league that has some of the best league guards in the country. I do think they will improve, especially as a collective, again, when you have more time, more reps, and Brad figures out in which scenarios and what situations he can lean on certain guys. I mean, that's one of the big things you're learning in the preseason or the pre-conference season is, who can I trust in what situations, and how do they perform when the lights are on? That's different.
And I mentioned those two specifically, Dent and Smith, because I think this Illinois team can compete for a Big Ten title. And we'll see if UCLA ends up being up there. I definitely have questions about them, but Purdue certainly, Michigan certainly, Michigan
Purdue's
State.
The team to beat. Let's face it, Purdue's the team everybody's chasing, clearly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they've rounded into form, and I think, again, it's going to come down to, you mentioned Mirkovic, right? Like, he was 5 of 13 from the field against Texas Tech, 4 of 13 from the field tonight. Like, he's going to have to adjust to dealing with the type of length and size in these games, being a guy that is limited athletically, super skilled, but limited athletically. So how does he hold up on both ends? We know he can use his leverage. We know he can rebound at a high level. I think the game is going to continue to slow down for him. He's already had a tremendous start to the year, but once things continue to slow down for him even more, I think you're just going to see this team be able to pull even more levers, particularly on the offensive end. I like they sprinkled some zone in there at the end. They're experimenting more defensively too than they did last year too. They were super conservative last year defensively, and I think they want to force more turnovers this year. So again, just like a lot of these teams, figuring out what you have early. I'm sure we'll talk about Kentucky at some point, but that's another point that I want to make. I guess I'll leave it at that.